Well, good morning and welcome to Story Time. Story Time comes on in the afternoon, but I'm doing this in the morning, so that's why I wish you a happy and good morning. Uh, Having another spate of this rainy weather, which doesn't make anybody happy, and it takes extra energy on each of us to make every day a little bit more interesting and happier. It's much easier when you can go outside in the sunshine. So, a great thing happened to me. One of the residents, and I'm sure you all know her, Rita, called me on the phone and said to me, "Hey, I have this book. I got a bunch of books from my kids, and one of the books is called Chicken Soup for the Pet Lovers." Now, I don't have a pet, but I know you have those two dogs. And I thought maybe you would like this book. And I said, "Sounds great. I'd love it." And so I picked up the book from her and I started paging through it, and I said, "This is a great book for storytelling because there's happy stories in here." So we're going to start off today and we're going to do a couple of these stories, and I hope you like them. The first one is called Sparkle, the Wonder Dog. I met Gene Wilder while we were making the movie Hanky Panky together. I had been a fan of his for many years, but the first time I saw him in person, my heart fluttered, and I was hooked. It felt like my life went from black and white to Technicolor. Gene was funny and athletic and handsome, and he smelled good. I was bitten with love, and you can tell it in the movie. The brash and feisty comedian everyone knew from Saturday Night Live turned into a shy, demure ingenue with knocking knees. It wasn't good for my movie career, but it changed my life. Up to this point, I had been a workaholic. I'd taken one job after another for over 10 years. But just looking at Gene made me want to stop. Made me want to cook. It made me want to start a garden, to have a family, and to settle down. But Gene was in no hurry to make the commitment. We were together on and off for the next 2.5 years. My new career became getting him to marry me. During that time, Gene took me to France. It was a marvelous vacation. I had learned to love France as much as Gene had. But not long after our trip to France, we broke up. Gene said he was suffocating, that my needs were smothering him. I was heartsick. Filled with love and with nowhere to put it, I decided to get a dog. I love dogs, but Saturday Night Live in New York City and my career weren't conducive to having a pet. My cousins in Detroit used to raise and show Yorkshire Terriers, so I made a desperate call to them to help me find a dog that was female, already housebroken, and small enough that I could travel with her. Sparkle was a perfect life form, so little, only 5 pounds. I designed her I designed her a haircut because I didn't like the way Yorkies looked ordinarily. So I had her clipped very short on her body and her head, but square cut like a little bear with Dumbo ears. I put various bows and barrettes in her hair to keep it out of her eyes, and she always seemed pleased with the progress. I became one of those people who show you endless pictures of their dog, and all the pictures look alike. I took her on television with me when I was afraid to go alone. She was on David Letterman's show where she did a stupid pet trick. She took a bow on command. She did it on camera perfectly right the first time, and they did an instant replay of it. Sparkle always went through things with me. She loved me no matter what I did. I think dogs are the most amazing creatures. They give unconditional love. For me, they are the role model for being alive. Jean and I were split up for about 5 weeks, and when we got back together, it was under new conditions because there was Sparkle. It wasn't just me. Now it was me and Sparkle. The next summer, we went back to the south of France and took Sparkle with us. The French people love dogs. They opened their faces and their personalities. Sparkle was allowed to go everywhere with us. She ate in the restaurants, sitting on her own chair. She got a real chance to go out and see other people, and she was treated like a queen. I called it the dog holiday. When we returned, I had a lot of work, but I still had plenty of time to involve Jean in endless conversations about commitment and meaningful relationships and child rearing and meaningful relationships and commitment. He was still fighting for independence, and I was all for smothering suffocation. It wasn't long before Jean and Sparkle and I were on our way for our holiday in France again. We were taking an early morning flight, and because we had the dog, they put us in a private passenger lounge to wait. I put Sparkle down on the floor, and she was running around being cute when I saw her sniffling something in the corner. When I knelt down, there were these little turquoise pellets spilling out of a box on the floor, and the box clearly said, "Rat poison." I gasped. I didn't know if Sparkle had eaten a pellet or not, and Jean said she wouldn't eat that, but I was frightened. What if she had eaten one? We called the Poison Control Center and gave them the number on the box and the name of the poison. "Get her to a vet immediately," said the voice on the other end. I just picked up Sparkle and said to Jean, "I'm going to the vet. I'll meet you in New York later," kissed him goodbye and ran out. My luggage was already on the plane, which was scheduled to leave in 20 minutes. I flagged down a limo that was just dropping somebody off, and I panicked. The hysterical mother screaming, "Get us to the nearest vet!" We found Airport City's animal hospital in Inglewood, and I rushed the dog in. The vet was just getting to work and putting on his coat when I ran in yelling, "My dog ate rat poison!" I was white as a ghost, but Sparkle was wagging her tail. He was a wonderful vet. I gave him the information. He called the Poison Control Center, and they told him what to do. Gave Sparkle an injection that caused her to throw up a turquoise pellet. She had eaten one. If I hadn't spotted that box, Sparkle would have gradually gotten ill and then died, and we wouldn't have known why. I stayed the whole day in the vet's office, holding Sparkle. The injection had made her anxious, and she trembled all day. She had to go on a program of injections for 2 weeks in case any pellet had dissolved and gone into her system. The vet let me take her home. I still had to take her back every day for the injections, so when Jean called me from his stopover in New York, I said to him, "You go to France. You need the holiday, and there's nothing you can do here. I'll take care of Sparkle now, and when you get back, everything will be fine." Jean did go, but he went thinking, "Well, she has definitely grown up." I wouldn't let him out of my sight before then, and this was me acting in a very responsible way. When Jean came back from France, he gave me an engagement ring. Our cousin Buddy refers to it as the time when Sparkle tried to commit suicide because Jean wasn't marrying Gilda. He believes that Sparkle's suicide attempt was what turned Jean around and made him actually ask me to get married. So you can see why I owe a great deal to that dog's. Sparkle the Wonder Dog. Gilda Radner told that story. Well, we've got another pet lover story. And if you were not a pet lover, at least maybe you can appreciate them. And this is a pet story which I think that unfortunately many of us can relate to. It's called Pet Love. Animals have always been a way of life with my family. I never thought of myself as an only child because our pets were my playmates and my confidants. I cannot remember any family high spot, or crisis, or joy, or sorrow that didn't include whatever pets we had at the time. More than once in my life, I have dried my tears on soft, silky ears. This was never more true than when my husband, Alan Ludden, died. Life does not come equipped with an instruction manual, and neither does death. Alan and I had worked together on and off during almost 18 years of marriage. But in our private life, we were always very much a team. As well as lovers, we were each other's critic, editor, fan, and friend. While we had 2 long years to get used to the idea, when he died, I was shattered. My first instinct was to crawl away somewhere, to mourn in private, and to some extent I suppose I did. But there were 2 other gentlemen in my life, my dogs, Timmy, the coal-black miniature poodle, and Sooner, the Labrador Golden Retriever mix. They missed Alan too, but were not about to let me wither away. Pets, I discovered long ago, always seem to know what a person is feeling. After Alan's death, there was a wonderful outpouring of love and sympathy from our family and friends. All the people we had worked with over the years, plus hundreds of people we had never met, but who had come to know how special he was through watching him on television. My mother was incredible in her support, knowing just when to move in and when to stand back and give me a little space I needed. But still, whenever anybody was around, even those who were the closest, I felt obligated to keep up appearances and try not to show my grief. I suppose that was from not wanting to make them feel even sadder worrying about me. Such games we humans play. Of course, I was grieving. My life had been torn apart. And while I was able to put on a great show of strength for my friends and family, I could not pull that same act with Timothy and Sooner. They knew me too well. They could read me loud and clear. Sensing that Alan's death had left me badly wounded, Timothy and Sooner snuggled in to help. Not that I was so willing to cooperate, at least in first. But can anyone say no to a little black pest who keeps throwing his favorite toy at you? Or to a 70-pound leaner who is adamant that dinner is already 30 minutes late? I had continued to work right up until 3 days before Alan's death, beginning and ending each day at the hospital. All at once the pattern had changed, and the purpose was gone. I had no interest in lights, camera, makeup, or much of anything else for that matter. It was therefore up to Sooner and Timothy to take over organizing my day. Their needs became my needs. They gave my life definition, a reason to get up in the morning, a firm grasp on today when so much of me wanted to turn back the clock to yesterday. Timothy and Sooner got me through the first week, the first month, the first year, all those terrible firsts. Looking at my life, I see many segments: childhood and early marriage, 10 years of being single career girl, then my life with Alan. Move in a little closer and there are segments within segments. Alan well, Alan ill, and then life without Alan. I have discovered that while I can never forget such a loss, I have with time pulled my life together. I am working full tilt, exploring new activities, taking new challenges. I suppose in the final analysis, I have invented a lot of such a great return to the investment. For though the many stages of my life My feeling for animals has been an unwavering constant, a dependable reservoir of comfort and love. And that was from Betty White.